And welcome back to A Chapter a Day.
Keeps the devil away.
Pastor Pleck, along with Pastor Holland, we're going to outline Luke 5, and then we are going to find some observations, some interpretations about the nature of man, the character of God, and finally some application. In Luke 5, verses 1 through 11, we have the calling of the first disciples, which involves a miraculous catch of fish. In verses 12 through 16, we've got the healing of a man with leprosy, and we see Jesus touching and healing him and then instructing him to show himself to the priest as a testimony. Then in verses 17 through 26, the healing of the paralytic, one of my personal favorite stories, where he tells a paralyzed man his sins are forgiven. Everyone freaks out, and then he says, but so that you may believe that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins, I say to you, rise, take up your mat, and walk. Then you have the calling of Levi, verses 27 through 32, and then finally questions about fasting in verses 33 through 39, where we get into the Pharisees and John's disciples and the difference with Jesus and his disciples. All right, so what are some observations that just jumped out at you, Holland?
Okay, first thing that jumps out to me is the two healings. You have the leper and the paralytic.
Yeah.
Leprosy was symbolic of like the corruption and pollution of sin.
Yeah.
It was like a physical, visible sign of that, a symbol of that. And then being paralyzed is, you're unable to work, you're unable to serve, you're unable to do these, certain types of things. And so for Jesus to heal these two people back to back in succession like this, I think is really neat in showing that Jesus not only cleanses us from sin, but he enables us to serve him. So faith in Jesus brings about salvation from the pollution, the corruption. We get freedom from that, but also we're empowered to serve the Lord. The paralytic, is able to freely serve God as he was meant to be.
All right, what about this amazing, crazy catch of fish? Yeah. I mean, this is one of those things you go, either it could be folklore, it could be, why doesn't he do this more often? Why aren't there more massive catches of fish and him feeding up villages and whatnot? What do you think?
Well, Jesus, Jesus has done crazier things.
That's true.
And he's going to rise from the dead eventually. Yeah. God spoke the whole world into existence. We have manna from heaven. We have all these other miracles. This is not, the craziest thing. It is really powerful, but I would say that God actually loves and delights in the ordinary way of doing things. So God is pleased with fishermen having normal catches and feeding their families and doing good business day to day. Those things are actually pleasing to God too. This is something that was a powerful testimony to the divinity of Jesus as he's calling his first disciples.
And I love Peter's response because it's so real to me.
Yes.
He goes, go away from me, Lord, I'm a sinful man. His response wasn't, I'll follow you anywhere. We could make some money doing fishing expeditions. It was, leave me alone. And Jesus, undeterred, says, don't worry about that. From now on, you'll be making fishers of men. I thought that was a wild, rejection of Peter's no. It's like, I chose you. You don't really have a choice, so we're doing this. Which I really appreciate, that Jesus takes us in spite of our disbelief, unwillingness, and our sin.
Yeah, it really it reminds me of when I first became a Christian. And I was reading the Bible and I was going, man, Jesus is cool. I want to follow him. And then I get to the Sermon on the Mount, and I feel convicted of sin. And I have that same feeling where I was thinking, man, I want to follow him. He's so awesome. And then the conviction made me feel like he would never take someone like me.
Right.
Like, depart from me. I'm a sinful man. And I just felt like, man, Jesus is awesome, but he wouldn't want somebody like me. And thankfully, I had a Christian roommate who shared the gospel with me and said that Jesus actually loves sinners. So that was good news.
That is awesome. I love that story. It's awesome, too, because not only does Peter say, go away from the Lord, I'm a sinful man, Jesus then walks up to probably a way worse, in Peter's eyes, guy, Levi, the tax collector, and says, come follow me. And then he says, we're going to have a dinner party at your house. And all of Levi's buddies show up. And the Pharisees are furious that he is hanging out with sinners and eating and drinking with them, because you are not supposed to eat and drink with those who are far from God, who were rebellious as outwardly as they were.
Yeah, that's good.
What about, I do appreciate also it says when he saw their faith.
Mm-hmm.
And the question I always have is that he saw the friend's faith that brought the paralyzed guy.
Yeah.
Does the paralyzed guy even know what's going on? Or is he sees their faith, meaning the friends and the paralyzed guy? I always in my head.
Yeah, I doubt they brought him against his will, you know?
They could have.
Maybe.
Maybe they're like, maybe the paralyzed guy's like, this Jesus is not working out. Nuh-uh. Like, well, we're going to take you right to him. Let's go see what happens. And they believed and brought him and lowered him down, and bam, wild.
Yeah, he's got to be included because, verse 20, when he saw their faith, he said unto him,
Oh, okay.
Man, thy sins are forgiven thee. I've got the King James here. So he saw their faith, the group.
And be like, you know what? All right, I'll forgive you.
Yeah. I think he's included in the
All
group.
right.
But I love that he says he saw their faith. How do you see someone's faith?
Well, he also read the minds of the Pharisees. So
yeah, true. So is he saying that he just read their mind or their heart? Or is he saying through their actions, their faith is made known, made visible?
It's true. But what if they had deceitful actions? So, for example, the Pharisees were sitting right there. Mm-hmm. They didn't say anything. They were just thinking in their hearts negative thoughts. For all a normal person would know, they brought this paralyzed guy to trap Jesus and say, aha, so you can't do it. But they saw their actual faith, and he can read your heart and your mind.
Okay. Yeah. Faith without works is dead, though, right?
That is true.
So these are the would you agree that these are the works of faith?
Absolutely.
Of friends? Okay.
Yeah.
So Jesus recognized that.
So it wasn't works without faith.
It wasn't works without faith. Neither was it faith without works.
Fair enough.
All right. Have we answered any of the questions, the normal things yet? Observations. That's what we do,
observations still. How come Jesus doesn't fast? Why doesn't he train the disciples in fasting? He just goes like, you guys will get that when you need it.
Yeah. Well, he explains it. he says that can you KJ, I got KJV with me today, so just bear with me.
Oh
can ye make the children of the bride chamber fast while the bridegroom is with them? So they're not fasting because they're experiencing something that is totally unique and never before happened and unrepeatable until the return of Christ. They're experiencing God in the flesh with them. And because of that very special circumstance, it is not the time to fast.
Okay.
That's explaining why his disciples aren't fasting. We know Jesus himself fasted in the wilderness when he was led there by the Spirit.
He did.
But with his disciples in his public ministry, it was not a ministry marked by fasting.
But remember in Mark 9:24, at least in the KJV, I think it says this kind of like comes out with fasting and prayer.
Yeah.
Or is it the KJV? I can't remember. Anyway, like Yeah. And so that's where I'm like, if he tells them they got to fast, at some point you got to say, let me train you. But maybe he's just like, don't eat. That's basically what you do.
Yeah.
All right. What are some of the things that, what are some truths or principles about the nature of man that come out to you?
We are broken by sin in our natural selves and in our hearts. You see the hard-heartedness of the scribes and Pharisees. You see the sickness of paralytic and a leper, and you see the sinfulness of Matthew's friends who are engaged in these sinful things. So you see all manners of brokenness here in this chapter.
Yeah. How about this? Mankind responds to God by leaving everything to follow him. I mean, at least I guess that we should anyway.
That's the proper response.
The proper response. But what you see it here with the disciple or James and John and Peter and Andrew leave the fishing business after the greatest catch of all time. They leave it all, follow Jesus. And then Matthew or Levi, work in the tax booth, leaves it all and follows Jesus. I guess that's the proper response of humans, is to leave it all behind to follow him. And that might mean you actually stay in your job, but you still leave it all. I think sometimes that could be a little bit a challenging thing to wrap your head around of what does it mean to leave everything behind. I think it just means like your primary responsibility is now first to Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
What about character of God?
Character of God, he has compassion. He He forgives sins and he heals out of a heart of compassion.
Yeah, good. How about God brings transformative joy through his presence, and he's looking to destroy, or not destroy, but it's incompatible with the old ways that people doing religious business were used to.
Yeah, that's good.
And his compassion was powerful. All right, well, how about some application then?
I always like, we're on our third gospel now. So this is our third time through disciples leaving everything to follow Jesus.
Yeah.
And every time I read it, I'm just like, man, it's such a good reminder and encouragement that, like what you said, like your allegiance is first and foremost to Jesus. If they're, whatever it costs you, whatever it, you need to leave behind to give your full allegiance to Jesus, he's worthy of it. He's worth it.
How about this? A sin to confess. I think this would convict me. What are some areas of self-reliance or religious pride, like the Pharisees, who were like judging sinners and going like, Jesus is with the wrong people. Yeah, you have the wrong people, and I think there's a tendency in me to go, you have the wrong people. Yeah,
a couple more. One, catch men, right? Jesus says, I'm going to teach you to catch men and send you out as fishers of men. So go tell someone about Jesus today.
Yeah.
The gas station, the restaurant, your coworker, a neighbor, whatever. Just tell somebody about Jesus.
Or how about even more simply, today, if you're listening to this maybe for the first time, Jesus says to you, follow me.
Oh, yeah.
Command, obey, follow Jesus. All right, we'll see you next time on A Chapter a Day.